everyone. I'm Matt Williamson. How are you? Pull back the curtain. I am pre-recording this before I leave for my family vacation, but it's going to hold up either way. I think it's some real good material, and I'm going to get you a podcast while I was out. I will be back. Not that you care that much, but I'm going to go back and forth from vacation to Latrobe on Thursday and Friday, but I'm never really even going to be in my room or anything to record anything, but maybe I'll fortunately have some free time and knock something out. But really Saturday is when I move in full time in my dorm at St. Vincent's, and I'll be pumping out content from you guys from then until the end of the season. So I have referenced Brandon Thorn before. Go do a search for him. He's all over Twitter, and he's the best offensive line analyst out there right now. He just got back from offensive line mastermind camp. He's been doing it for quite a while. It's all he does. He specializes in offensive line, and his offensive line almanac just came out, and I wanted to share some stuff with you on the AFC North. He breaks them all down into division, which I think this is a very good offensive line division. I would personally rank them for how good they are right now. Frankly, I would not trade the Steelers' offensive line for anyone in the division in terms of big picture investments, all that stuff. Like if the Browns called and said, hey, I'll give you all my offensive linemen for all yours. No, I'm keeping what they got. But I would personally rank the division Browns 1, still, but maybe falling as opposed to going the other way. And they lost a stud O-line coach, a Munchak-like O-line coach. That's going to have ramifications. I would have the Steelers 2 right now, not in terms of what they will become. Day one, I have them slightly over the Bengals, who improved the tackle quite a bit. And I would have the Ravens last. And the Ravens might have been second last year, but they lost several starters. I'm concerned about the Ravens O-line. I could see that really derailing them. But what Brandon did, which is pretty cool, is he broke this thing down into a handful of what he thinks are very important categories. And he just kind of talks about them by division. And I thought that was a good way of, kind of just looking at the competition, seeing where the Steelers stand. And I think there's a lot to take away from it, to be very, very honest with you. And that's why we're doing this. A lot of good feedback from you guys lately, too. We've had some really killer pods, and you guys have been enjoying them. I appreciate that a great deal. Told you often about Bet Online. They're your number one source for all your summer sports this season, from baseball, golf, so many more. All the latest stats, news, and scores available to follow your favorite teams. Get the latest odds and lines, including the latest team matchups, player props, and odds on just about every sport out there. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to get in on the action. Bet Online, where the game starts. So I very much agree. He believes experience is very important at this position, offensive line. It's such a technique-driven, you got to know all the tricks of the trade, what defenses are trying to do to you. And obviously this is not going to be the Steelers' best situation with their youth. But in terms of experience, he has the Browns line as, and we're just talking starters here. And with the Steelers, that's not Dan Moore. That's both rookies. That's Jones on the left, which I think is going to be the case. So he has the Browns as the second most experienced offensive line in the league. And what he's doing is total starts from the starters. The Bengals are the fifth most experienced. Then we go all the way down to the Steelers at 27. Shouldn't shock you at all. The guards have a lot of experience. Nobody else does. But the Ravens are 31st. I mean, that one caught me off guard a little bit. Like, I know they have new starters, as we mentioned, but a lot of guys that really haven't played football at this level. I'm concerned about the Ravens O-line. Again, there's a bunch of different categories here. And the next one up is combined age, which isn't the same as experience, but combined age. strangely, the two Ohio teams, the Browns and Bengals, tie as the 29th youngest, or what's that? The third oldest, if you want. Again, that correlates with experience. But the Steelers and Ravens tie for the fifth youngest, which again, shouldn't shock anyone. You got two rookies and a second-year player on the team, and James Daniels is remarkably young too. So we're just talking about age, not experience, not games played. How old are the human beings out there? Total draft capital, highest to lowest. The Steelers are fourth in the NFL in draft capital invested in their offensive line, starters. Again, I think this adds up, but the two guards didn't come via the draft. Browns are 11th. The Ravens are 17th. Bengals are 30th. But I guess he's also not counting Amarius Mims, who is not scheduled to start. That was their first-round pick this year. But you look across their line, it's not really a pedigree line. I mean, there's not high draft picks there at all. So they're a little older, they're experienced, but they're not highly drafted in Cincinnati. All right. Total weight. Cincinnati's crazy in this regard. They have 1,650 pounds of starting offensive linemen out there. That's first heaviest in the NFL. Their tackles are insanely huge. The Ravens are the 16th heaviest. They come in at 1,580 pounds. Steelers are right behind them. They're the 19th heaviest at 1,571. And the Browns are 1 pound shy of the Steelers. That's probably a Big Mac away at 1,570. So these three are all kind of in the middle on the lower end. The Bengals are easily the heaviest offensive line in the entire league. This is interesting to me. Most athletic unit, and I'm going to nerd out on you a little bit here. They use the RAS score, relative athletic score. And what that is, I've told you about before. We talk about it a lot in the draft. It's a composite athleticism score, like a spider web graph. So how athletic is your line? Steelers, first in the division and fifth highest in the NFL. Now that also correlates with using a lot of draft capital there. You draft athletes, but this is a very athletic offensive line, comparatively speaking. The Browns is right behind him at 6th in the league. The Ravens are 19th and the Bengals 32nd, the least athletic line in the entire NFL. And as mentioned, they're also huge. So what he does then is he takes it a next step further and says, let's weight adjust your athletic score. So obviously you're heavier. You're not going to run as good a 40, jump as high, change directions in the 3-cone, et cetera, et cetera. So if you adjust it with weight, basically he takes that weight number and divides it by his athletic score. The Steelers are still 8th best in the league. Browns are right behind them, 9th best. Bengals are 17th best, which is a lot better when you adjust for weight, because they're 1,650 pounds worth of offensive linemen. And the Ravens, 19th best, which is very low. All right. Again, longest tenured line coach. I mean, I think that's a big deal. And I mentioned how the Browns lost a superstar line coach. The Ravens, Joe DeLisandris, is in his 8th season. So he is the highest one. So last thing I want to talk about is Brandon then did a section where he did breakout offensive lines. One for the AFC, one for the NFC. You can only pick, one of each. And he picked the Steelers for the AFC. And here's what he had to say about it. And again, I really trust his O-line evaluations more than anybody. The Steelers have invested 2 first-round picks and 1 second in their offensive line over the 2 drafts with 2 free agent guard signings since 2022. This has resulted in the 4th most draft capital spent on a starting 5 in the NFL entering the 2024 season. Pittsburgh's no-look line currently projects as the 5th youngest unit in the league and ranks 8th in weight-adjusted athleticism score, as we talked about. While this unit looks much improved on paper, on film, it's clear there is a seismic shift in physicality level and overall play strength compared to recent years given the evaluations of Broderick Jones, Fautanu, and Frazier coming out, as well as Jones's evaluation last year. Also, Siamalu is coming off what is probably his best year of his career and will be the leader of this unit, which he absolutely is. He is right. And the new scheme of Arthur Smith that will put the line in more favorable situations with a run-first, play-action approach, and the ecosystem is in place for a young, explosive line to hit the ground running and lean on their strengths over the course of the season. Totally agree with that, too. So then he does some individual awards. Who is the strongest, most powerful player on each line? For the Browns, he picks Wyatt Teller. For the Bengals, he picks Orlando Brown. For the Ravens, he took Tyler Linderbaum. Even though he's small, power, explosion, and sort of along those lines, he takes Zach Frazier for the Steelers. I would have guessed Broderick Jones, and probably that still would have been my choice, but I have not seen Frazier play live yet. But the power and that strength of Frazier surprised me a little bit. Then he goes in and looks at what are the total salary cap hits of all these offensive lines. And the Browns have this 11th highest hit among their lines. The Bengals are 13th highest. The Steelers are 17th highest, spending just over $29 million on their starters. First round picks aren't cheap. And the Ravens are the 22nd highest in terms of positional spending on offensive line. And then he also goes, who is the best contract value for each team? And obviously rookies are going to lean that way, or guys on their rookie deal. He picks Tyler Linderbaum with the Ravens and says he's already a top 5 center, which I 100% agree. He's only 24 years old. Then he picks Zach Frazier. He's only making like 1.4. So if he's day one starter, I mean, with his play strength, experience, and refined skill set, this contract should look even better as time goes on. Well said. Then he stays with center with the Browns, Ethan Posick. That's the thing about the Browns. Their line's pretty pricey in terms of the guards, and we value it versus age. And then Trent Brown isn't making all that much either. He's the Bengals' choice, but he also got a big signing bonus. So that's a little bit of a misnomer. I mean, it's just in terms of what you're making this season. So there you have it. I thought that was interesting. An expert digging into O-line stuff and supplementing it a little bit with some stuff I have on that. And I had this little nugget too that kind of goes with this. He mentioned Arthur Smith's run schemes. And I just saw this morning. So in Atlanta last year, Bijan Robinson, Tyler Algier, and Cordarrelle Patterson, who's now a Steeler, all averaged over 4 yards per carry with at least 8 players in the box. That's really impressive. I mean, everyone knew they run the ball a lot. They're still churning out with their backs, 3 of them, 3 deep, over 4 yards a carry with 8+ in the box. It's good work. That's scheme. All right, guys. Thanks, everyone. I will enjoy my vacation. I'll get back to you ASAP.